My name is Dr. Kirsten Fulong, and I'm here today to talk to you about a couple important things that you should be looking for all the time in kids in your community and kids of your own. So we see a lot of kids as an 80% prenatal and pediatric focused office in the Sarasota area. And we see a lot of kids that struggle with a lot of common issues nowadays. And these things are not normal, but they are very common. And so we see kids struggle with immune system challenges. They're not pooping well, they're not eating well, they're very picky, they have behavioral struggles on the daily, they're not focusing well in school, and they have emotional dysregulation, lots of sensory struggles, just all these different things that we're seeing now in our office, and we're trying to find a common denominator in that. And so through all these kids that we're seeing in our office, we're seeing a common factor when they were babies that affects them nowadays. And so there's three things that we look for in that health history that we're taking for those kids to make sure that this is an area that we can help with. And so when we look at these areas, there are three things that every baby should be doing very well in the first 6 months. And these are eating, sleeping, and pooping. If a baby is not eating well, say their birth process was super traumatic and they come out and they're not able to turn their head or neck, they're not able to get a deep enough latch, if they're struggling with the ability to swallow and take in nutrients, activating muscles in their head and neck, all these different things affect how the baby eats. We check the rooting reflex to make sure that baby's latching properly. We check their sucking reflex, all these different things to make sure that baby is getting enough nutrients. If you've ever held a newborn baby, you know that their first thing that they're going to try to do is latch. Their primitive reflex is looking for that boob to latch onto that and get in those nutrients that they need. And so if they're not doing that well, that is going to not make them gain weight quick enough. It's going to put their bodies into a more stressed state, and it's going to make mom more stressed as a result. And so that's the number one thing that we look for in our office, to make sure they're getting in all those nutrients so their bodies can grow quick. The next thing that we look at, if baby is not eating properly, they are probably not sleeping properly as well. So if you've ever seen a very colicky baby, if they're not comfortable, if they're very tense, if the baby arches, if they have too much head control as a newborn, they might be tense as a baby, very high tone. And so we look for how the baby is carrying themselves, if they're stiff, if they're arching, are they able to turn their head side to side, all these different things that can affect how they're sleeping. And so if they're not comfortable in their own bodies, they're not going to be sleeping well night to night. And so mom is going to be super sleep deprived. She's going to be stressed because her baby's not gaining weight. And all these things come together because these babies need to be doing these things very well. And then the third thing that we look for is pooping. This is something in our office where a lot of parents think, oh, it's normal. My baby poops every couple days. It's totally fine. But that is not normal. Every baby should be pooping multiple times a day, releasing the toxins that they're taking in. They need to be constantly eliminating what their bodies need to get rid of, because this helps them grow in a better state. If they're storing those toxins, that is not also going to be a happy baby either. So all three of these things are very important for babies to be doing really well most of the time at this age, because if this is not addressed, these can turn into bigger issues later on. And so these babies that we see that weren't sleeping well, they were super colicky, they arched their back a lot, they pooped every 7 days. These babies turn into those kids in school where they're not sitting well in their chairs, like they're not able to focus on what they're doing in front of them. They're not able to socialize well. They're stressed out. They're not sleeping well still. They're bedwetting. They're getting chronic immune system issues. They're chronic ear infections. All these different things stem from these three simple things that we look for in our office every single day, because these are all windows into what their nervous system is doing. And so as pediatric trained chiropractors, we look at the most important system in the body, and that is the nervous system. And so when we see a body that is not functioning properly in any of these areas, we look at where in the nervous system that is tied. So for example, your upper neck area is where your vagus nerve runs through, all the nerves that control your brainstem, your respiration, your breathing patterns, your digestion, your mood, your emotions, your ability to turn your head side to side, taking in the world and all the sensory things of the world, your stimuli and your environment. These are all functions of your upper neck area. Then we move into the mid-back area, which controls your gut, your digestion, your ability to chop food up and get it into your bowels, where your low back helps eliminate those toxins from your body, where you're getting frequent bowel movements, all these different things with your gut, your mood, your elimination, all these things that help your body function properly. If there's any areas in your body that are stuck or turned off, that is going to affect how the rest of your body processes everything. And so when things are not functioning well in coordination, the body is stressed. And so these babies should be in that period of growth and development 90% of the time, eating, sleeping, and pooping, so their bodies transition and hit their milestones on time so that things are all functioning well and their brain is able to move on to the next step in their development. And so these are all things that, as a parent, you might see these struggles day to day and think, okay, where do I go to next? What is the solution for my child? But that is where we as chiropractors like to focus on the nervous system, getting those simple functions working well, and then your body can shift into that period of development and growth and healing so that you can move on to the next stage. So we constantly see kids improve with these sleeping patterns. Their bodies get back into that healing mode, and then they're finally able to focus in school. They're finally able to be aware of their body's emotions and all these different things that impact their development and help them turn into healthy adults. And so if any of these things resonate with you, if you're noticing that kids in your community are struggling with these things, if you notice your children are struggling with these things, find a pediatric chiropractor near you that is specifically trained to look for these things. Find someone who assesses the nervous system, because this is the most important thing in making sure that they're growing and developing optimally. So this is something we see in our office all the time. Feel free to comment on this video if this resonated with you. Ask us any questions you might have, and I hope this hit home with you, and I hope you have an amazing day.